You gotta shake it, fellas. Not more than 3 seconds, otherwise you're playing with it. I think she's sealed.
Alright, YouTubers, welcome back. My name's Dave. Like always, and you found do it yourself, do it right. Well, got my Common Motors hat on, got the XL 175 behind me, and you know, you guys know by now that's what we're working on. Getting down to the end on this bike. You know, hopefully you guys been following along with all my other videos. You know, when I first bought this bike, I said, you know, I'm going to show you the process of buying an old bike, getting it back together, getting it running, and, you know, taking her down the road. And, you know, I'm getting real close. I've got it on the road. We're riding it. But I'm, you know, having troubles with the carburetor. And that's what we're going to work on today. It wants to keep leaking gas. Whenever I touch the bike, it just starts leaking. That's a float issue, obviously. And the other problem is I'm trying to get this carburetor tuned in for this bike. So, you know, get a cold snack or 5. And, you know, get ready. Because we're going to do some carburetor tuning. Alright, so the first issue that I'm having, it's a pretty easy fix. The float height, you know, it's just you know, you got to get it fine-tuned in there. And I set it to what the recommendation height was, and it still leaks, so I'm gonna give it a little bit more. Hopefully it seals up. It was leaking like every couple of seconds. It would leak, and you know, I had to put a pair of vice grips on the fuel line because, you know, I bought shitty petcocks and they don't stop the gas. So at least I got it to where it only leaks when I start messing with the bike, and it only leaks once, so it's like an air bubble. Anyways, that's easy enough. That's just a little tweak on the float. The more, you know, challenging thing that I got going on is jetting this bike, and the reason why is, well, this Mikuni carb, that's not the original carburetor to this bike. This bike actually came with a Keyheim carburetor, and I have bits and pieces of that carburetor. I actually thought about pulling it out and trying to put it together and, you know, acquiring the parts that aren't there, but I figured it was just easier to tune this thing. And boy, was I probably wrong. You know, tuning a new carburetor to a bike wasn't originally on there is hard enough. And then, you know, trying to tune it with a pod filter is even harder. So, yeah, you know, I got my work cut out, but I'm close. You know, I'm really close. So, you know, I'm going to show you guys how, you know, obviously I do this one. Pretty easy. Single cylinder, single carburetor. I don't even take the carburetor off the bike, to be honest with you. Like I said, I just throw a pair of channel locks on the fuel line, pop this clamp off, obviously take the pod filter off, and then I just pop the carburetor out over here, take the bowl off, and you know, I start messing around with the jets in there, and I'm gonna get to that in just a second. But before I do, I'm gonna go over to my little workbench area, and I'm gonna show you guys how I do my jetting process. Now, you know, I'm pretty forgetful, and you know, I don't do this all in one day, so I actually have to write my stuff down. And I'll tell you, because you know, this has been a couple of week process trying to get this thing tuned in. And the reason why is because, well, I had to order jets because I didn't have the right ones. Well, I had the right ones, they're just the wrong size. So what I do is I take my nifty difty little book here, just a little book, and I go and I write down what I'm working with. Obviously 175 carb tuning. I even put the date. Look at that. I put the date, what I started with. These were the jets that I started with, and then I change them. As you can see, I go down, and then I make little notes. Crappy top end. That means it was too much. You know, the 145 main jet was way too much. The idle jet, well, you know, you got to adjust your idle jet. So then I dropped it back down to the 110. And then I said a lot better top end. And so on and so forth. And I kept the same idle. So you see I went here, put a different idle, put a bigger idle in it. Nope, I don't think that's a 110. I don't think it's a real 110. And the reason why I say that is well, I'll show you my 110. You're not gonna be able to see it because it's so tiny. But on this little jet right here, it says 110 on there somewhere. And this is not a factory OEM jet. And the reason why I know that is because it doesn't have the little square emblem that's on a Mikuni carb OEM jet. So this says 110, but I actually think that it's probably a 100 or smaller, because when I put a smaller jet in it, it ran exactly the same. So now if you look down here, I said I don't think this is a 110. I got a 100, an actual OEM 100 right here. Look at, I line all my jets up so they're organized in order. Same with my idle jets over here. And then I put a 95 in it, and I said it's going the wrong way. So I put a bigger idle jet in it, and it went the wrong way. What I mean by the wrong way is I couldn't take off with the bike. It died as I was letting the clutch out to try to ride it. And so, you know, that's what happens. You go the wrong way every once in a while. It just, just happens. So, flip the page on, 5/24. As you can see, I started on the 16th and now it's on the 24th. Put the 95 and a smaller idle jet in there. I said moved in the right direction, just too far, meaning this was too far. So then I went back to a 25 and blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So I have a 95 main in there and a 25 idle, and it's running much better. Now I will say that the the idle could be a little bit better, but it is what it is. I don't have any more idle jets. I'd have to order another one. Actually, I might actually have to order some more main jets. I might actually have to order a smaller main jet, and I'll show you why. So the bike runs better, goes down the road better. You get the top end, she winds out, but when I look at the plug is still showing me that it's running rich. See how dark that is? Still running pretty cold. Now I do have a little chart, I guess you'd say. It's a picture, really. I'm gonna put that right here. And that's what the spark plug's supposed to look like. It tells you if it's too hot or too cold. And this one's still cold. It's a hotter plug, but it's still, I think, getting too much fuel on the top end. Now, I've only ridden a bike a couple of times with this jet combination in here. I'm hoping that it'll clean that plug up, but it's not looking like it. So I might actually have to order some smaller jets, a smaller main jet. But until then, I'm going to show you my process, how I do this. Now, this is obviously different than if you had a 4-cylinder bike with 4 carburetors. You'd have to take the whole mechanism off, or a twin cylinder, which is underneath my cover. you know, you gotta pop both of those carburetors off and change it. Now I did on a CB550, you know, there's enough room in there. You can get up in there and change those main jets with the carburetors on. You know, you don't have to take them all the way off, but I'm gonna show you this process. All right, guys, I wanna talk to you about a couple of things that you need to make sure that are set and done properly before you actually get to the actual, you know, fine tuning of the carburetor. And I guess you'd say the first and foremost and the most important is you got to make sure that the timing is set correctly. That's one of the things. You also got to make sure that the valves, the gaps, the seats, you know, gotta make sure that all that is done also. You know, there's specifics, you got to look them up. Or just grab a little manual for this bike and it'll tell you all that stuff. I just Google search it. Or just go on YouTube, or not YouTube, but go on Facebook, and you know, everybody's willing to give up their information, you know, stuff like that. So it's easy to find that kind of information. But yeah, so timing, valves. You also have to make sure if you're working on a twin or a four-cylinder bike with 4 carbs, you also got to make sure that your carbs are synced first. You know, you got to get them sucking properly first before you can you know, before you can really start fine-tuning it. So yeah, those are a few things you got to get done first. So let's go ahead and yank this carburetor off. All right, guys, so I got you set up on my noggin. A little different view for today. You know, I want to use both of my phalanges, if you know what I'm saying. Got some gloves because I'm gonna get fuel all over me. You know, got my Petcock 1000 stopper upper, you know, fuel stopper upper, and basically all I do is you know, I just clamp down the fuel hose, and you know, away we go. Other than that, this is a pretty simple process. You do have to have a little catch can, you know, for the gas you're gonna leak. That's what's been coming out. You know, it's been basically eating that plastic cup for a while. So, you know, that's always good. Yeah, well, let's thread that guy back in there before we forget about it. And, you know, this, like I said, this one's pretty easy. Just, well, let's take we'll take the old pod filter off real quick. Like, I want to show you something about a pod filter too. I don't know, maybe if you guys know or don't know about, you know, air, you know, putting pod filters on a bike. I saw a little thing a long time ago that you know, helped me out. You know, look, I don't even, well, out, here we go. Yep, should have took that off first. Should have took this little hose off. So basically, you just take that off. And then what I do is I just take the carburetor and I just basically dump it. See how it drains right in there? And then the other drain, just let it drain into the cup. And I get my screwdriver and just take off the bowl. Usually what I do is I just loosen up these 4 screws, and then it drains out the rest of the way. And I'm doing this because, you know, my Petcock, it doesn't shut the fuel off, and getting that fuel line on and off is just a pain in the junk. So, you know, I do what I have to do, and this seems pretty easy. So I just take each screw out, obviously. Set them right there. Screw number 2. Going for number 3. And finally number 4. And number 4 is out. And then, you know, just throw that down. And then your bowl pops right out. See that? Your bowl. Float bowl. And you're not dripping any fuel. And I just let it, you know, kind of let that hang for a minute. Dump out that. I always look in here and make sure there's no garbage. Make sure your floats are floating the way they're supposed to. Set that down. And then this is your meat and potatoes right here. So for those of you that know, you know. If you don't know, well then, you don't know. But I'm gonna go over it real quick. Like, there is a video of me, you know, working on a carburetor, cleaning a carburetor, telling you what jets are what. You want to check that one out, link in the corner. But anyways, on this little Mikuni, this is your idle jet way down in there. I doubt you can see it. It's the little ones. And this is your main jet here. And yep, that's a 95. I can read it, you know, it says 95 right there. I might actually have to go and get a 90 and an 85 and maybe even an 80. It never hurts to have extra jets. If this plug doesn't clean up, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and order them from Jets R Us. I'll show you their little website over there. That's who I always use. But yeah, so I just you know, when I'm tuning, these are readily available. Pop these out, pop that one out, pop the new one in, pop that one in, pop that back on, put it back together, you're good to go. But this one I gotta adjust the float height again. So here's your little float pin. Don't lose it. And then this is your needle and your seat. So basically what you have to do here is this needle, which is new, that is new. I put a new one in there, so I know that this little rubber tip, it's still good. You know, it's just you know, you gotta adjust how high this goes up, you know. So when this float comes up, it pushes this up into the seat, and this cuts off the fuel flow from your fuel line. And what I need to do is I need to adjust this little tab that this sucker hangs on. So let's put that guy up there. This little tab right here still needs to be bent up ever so slightly, just a little bit more. Now it's, you know, it's hard to measure. So what I do is, you know, I do the right thing and I get a little teeny tiny flat tip. Where's my teeny tiny flat tip? Here we go. I get this guy here, or one like it, you know, I'm sure you have one. And then I just bend it up just a little bit more. Yep, it looks like it moved a little bit, and we'll go with that. See if that moves. Now that's not precise, folks. I know it. I know that's not precise. I know it's not like taking this off, flipping it over, measuring the height, blah 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 when it touches. But I've already done that, okay? I've already done that, and it still continues to leak. So just tweak it a little bit more, beep beep, a little bit more. So I've tweaked it. That's the second tweak. I'm not exactly sure if I tweaked anything the last time. I could hardly tell if it moved. So, you know, maybe that'll work. So then you just, you know, slide it back in here, slide it back in there. You just slide it in there. You take your pin. Now, some carburetors, these pins go in easy. Some of them go, you know, some of them are a pain. If yours is a bear, you know, you might actually have to totally take the carburetor off the bike and do it. But this one seems to slide in and out really nicely. In fact, it actually kind of falls out. So you got to pay attention to that when you're putting your carburetor back together, when you put your bowl back on, is what I'm saying. And then I always just give the carburetor a once over, make sure there's no gunk or nothing. I've already cleaned this carburetor several times, so I know it's pretty clean. Yeah, so main jet, just to reiterate before I put that back together, main jet, idle jet, okay? Main jet, idle jet. There's also a jet, not a jet, but it's a emulsifier tube down in there, inside of here. You can see it in the carburetor in there. So yeah, you gotta make sure everything's clean. So we're gonna go ahead and put this back together, and obviously this tube here goes into that hole there, and you just slide it all back together, and you just, oh, see why I was having problems? See the thing came down, dropped down again. So you just got to be slow and easy. If it doesn't just slide back together, you got to jam on it or do something out of the ordinary, then you're probably bending or breaking something. I don't recommend it, obviously. You know, take your time, guys and girls. If you're doing this, you know, if you're a lady and you're out here doing some carb tuning, you know, take your time. You know, I like to start each screw. I don't tighten them down until I got them all started. And these guys, you know, this is just pot metal, folks. You know, if it just doesn't turn in nice and easy, and you're cross-threading it, and this is, like I said, that's pot metal, that's cheap garbage, and you can cross-thread it no problem. So you just got to be nice and easy. No power drills on these, guys. Come on now, you don't need a power drill. It takes 2 seconds to turn these screws in. You don't need an impact. You don't need a screwdriver. You don't need a, you know, any kind of drill. You just, you know, just nice and easy. Just get a screwdriver, get a Craftsman, get a snap-on, whatever. You know, get a cheap Chinese one. Who cares? Just, you know, don't use your power drill on these things. And they don't have to be super tight either. Just snug them down. Tight. And we're gonna tighten this one. Third one. Tight. Now the fourth one. Tight. That's all there is to it, folks. Now you're ready to go right back on. You just pop this sucker back up in here. Again, don't force anything, because you got this, you got your throttle line on here still. Just pops right back into place. Now I always turn these clamps so they're easy to get to. Make sure your carburetor's seated, and you just tighten it down. Nice and tight. Do the wobble check. She's on there. She's not going anywhere. Look at that. I probably should have turned that a little bit, but I didn't. This should be straight down, but whatever. Not a big deal. And let's put the old... Now this is what I want to show you about these pod filters. Now I watched a video a long time ago about pod filters when I was doing the jet on my CB360 that's under the cover. Now there was one video where the guy said, make sure you cut out in your pod filter the rubber that goes in front of the carburetor here. Now I should have showed you before I put it up in there. Let me go ahead and take that loose since it's so easy, so I can show you. Alright, you see all these orifices, these openings, these guys here, you know, air and fuel, you know, it's got to go through there, folks, you know, so you can't block it. So if you just take this pod filter with this ridge in here and you jam it up on there, that's going to block what you don't want to block. So you got to cut it out of your pod filter. Just take a knife, an X-Acto knife, and you cut out that little area, so when you put it back on, bam, just like so, it doesn't block the flow of the air. Because, you know, to make sparkage and boomage inside of here, you need air. You need air, you need fuel, and you need fire. Fire right here, you know, this is fire. And then you need exhaust, you know, some compression. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. And, you know, it's got to suck the air through here, and obviously through the venturi, but, you know, that's the basics. You can't block off those orifices. And I think a lot of guys have trouble because they do. They just, you know, throw pod filters on. They don't, you know, and then they go to adjusting, trying to put jets in it, and, you know, they're blocking off the air, and it's really hard to get a carburetor, to get an engine running correctly if you're blocking off what you need, which is air. So what I do is I always put this to the bottom. I always put my clamp to the bottom so I know exactly where this cutoff is. Now see how it rotates with the, see how they rotate? That's why I always put the clamp down here, so I know exactly where it's supposed to be. And then I just take it down here, pop it up in there, and tighten it down. And there you have it, folks. That's as quick as and easy as you know, as this gets. Now this guy here is your idle speed adjuster. You have to adjust it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you change out this idle speed jet in here, you're gonna have to adjust this needle. I mean, it's just common sense, right? You change this, you gotta change this. All right, carb's back on. The only thing I got left to do is put this little tube back on, and then you know, release the hounds, meaning my vice grip off the fuel line, and see if she's gonna overflow. So, you know, I just put my cool little catch can back up here, and then, you know, just put my tube, and I come on over here, pop off my vice grips, and you know, we sit and wait for a minute. You know, fuels should be now going down into the carburetor, and we'll make sure that she doesn't overflow. This is, you know, this is where you play the Jeopardy song. Or you listen to the Harley guy take off at the stoplight like a madman. No, still nothing. One thing I should say is, you know, you take this apart, and I didn't take the throttle line off, so I always pop the throttle a couple times, make sure it's not jammed up or nothing. Make sure everything still works properly. You know, this is a manual choke. I don't have to worry about chokes or nothing. So yeah, still no drippage. And we might be golden. You know, like a shower. Let's go ahead and tighten up this plug. She's tight. Pop that guy back on there. Let's see if we can get the old girl to start up. Key on, obviously. Kill switch is on. Throttle's good. Well, we'll try with no choke first. Oh, look at that. Now she runs, which, you know, I knew she would. I didn't change the jets. I just figured I'd show you how I do it. And, you know, I wanted to show you that float height thing. Now the real test is when it sits, will it actually overflow again? So what I always do is, you know, I always set my little overflow can up. And I sit here and, you know, I watch. Gotta shake it, fellas. Not more than 3 seconds, otherwise you're playing with it. You know, while I sit here and wait, I figure, you know, I might as well go over some of the stuff that I've done off camera. And, you know, since I am trying to let you guys see, you know, what it's like trying to bring an old bike back to life to where you can ride it and it's safe and go down the road and not have to worry about getting stranded. Some of the things that I've, you know, little nitnoid things that I've encountered. For one, is I had to take these clocks, as the British say. I've had to take the clocks back apart. Well, not back apart. I've never had them apart. And the reason for that is these little screws down in here, they vibrated loose. And, you know, my speedometer gauge was just, you know, doing all this craziness. And then this one was almost loose. It was vibrating in there. So I figured, well, I got this one off. Might as well take that one off. The other thing that I did, and I noticed in another video, link to that video around here somewhere, the fork seals were leaking. And I've already done a fork seal video. If you guys haven't seen that one, Link to that one is around here also. I changed fork seals on my girlfriend's CB360. It's the same process on these. They're just smaller seals. You know, all Honda. You know, this is a 74. Hers is a 74. The one under the cover is a 74. They're all the same. The process is all the same. So I did go ahead and change out these, both of them. You know, they're holding tight. As you can see, nice and dry. You know, obviously, did both of them. And I have to say that whatever was in there, man, it stunk to high heavens, boy. It stunk up my garage for probably 2 or 3 days. It definitely wasn't fork oil. It definitely wasn't automatic transmission fluid. It smelled like a combination of antifreeze and burnt, I don't know, like clutch material. It was not good, let's put it that way. So yeah, did that. The old stoplight back here vibrated loose. This guy here was pretty much all the way out. This guy over here was non-existent. It was totally gone. This light was just vibrating all over the place. And you know, that comes with the territory, folks. Getting these old bikes that vibrate back together and out on the road. You got to ride them, and you got to, you know, go back over everything several times. Oh, the big thing that I've done, and you probably just heard it when I just started the bike up, is I made a homemade baffle for that guy right there. You look down inside of there, I took a piece of metal, I formed it, and then I put some screws in there to screw it up to what's in there, and drilled some holes in it so I can, you know, the exhaust gets out. I actually also put some sealant around the inside in there to kind of seal it up a little bit. So yeah, create some more back pressure for the bike, and it quieted it. You know, it's 100 times better than what it was before. It was just way too loud before. It was ear-piercing loud, actually. So yeah, those are a couple of the small things that I've done off camera. Although, oh, the other big thing is, you know, I just released a tire video, you know, replacing the back tire, but as you can see, I also had to replace the front tire. You know, I was talking all the smack about, you know, not wanting to paint the rim, and that I was gonna just put this tire, new tube, on a rim that I have down south, and you know, in Georgia, and that the other tire was fine. But you know, I was out riding, and lo and behold, I come back, I did some carburetor adjusting, I go to push the bike outside of the garage, and the front tire is flat, and I'm like, what the business? So I had to, you know, I had to have that one done. So I went ahead and, you know, I hate gold, so I got rid of the gold real quick, like with some spray paint. You know, rim's probably way out of balance, but oh well. I mean, top speed on this bike is maybe 50, 55 if I'm going down the hill. So, you know, you're taking your life in your own hands if you try to go over 55 on this sucker. But yeah, so those are some of the things that I've done off camera to get this thing back going. So it's been about 30 minutes, give or take 5 minutes. And you know, no leakage yet. So maybe I tweak that little tab, little seat. Maybe I tweaked it enough, and she's gonna hold fuel. You know, one could only hope. You know, because when dripping fuel all the time is, you know, not great. It's not, you know, it's not the best. So yeah, I think I finally got it, and I'm gonna give it you know, 3, 4, maybe 5 more rides back and forth to work before I actually pull the trigger and you know, buy some more jets from Jets R Us, and you know, I'll show you their cool little sticker that they give you, their information. You know, these guys are professional. They send the jets in this cool little manila, and then, you know, obviously your packing slip, and they send you this cool little sticker. I'm gonna take this sticker to work. Gonna put it on my toolbox at work up at the hangar. You know, because I got a bunch of stickers on there. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this video. Carburetor tuning, you know, getting it to stop leaking fuel. You know, just one of those annoying little things. You know, I wanted to, you know, show you guys how easy it is to get to this carburetor. Some of them are harder, but yeah, that's gonna do it. Like you guys do at the end of all my videos, like, tag, share, follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you guys get notified when I drop new videos, which is every Thursday at 6. There's a little gap in some of my videos. Unfortunately, work is you know, starting to take hold. It's summertime. We're doing lots of flying, so you know, there might be a week or two in there where I don't get a video out. So don't be surprised if you miss one, or if I miss a week. I'm sorry, but you know, I'm thinking about you guys when I'm at work. So yeah, like, tag, share, follow, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And until next time, thanks a lot. I'm collecting parts for what could be the last and final video on this XL 175. You know, it's coming up quick, and you guys know I'm collecting the parts. We got a clutch, got the seals, we got some oil. Do it all at once.